There is a specific kind of pain that comes with being a Cleveland Browns fan. It's not the sharp, sudden pain of a heartbreaking loss in final seconds. We're used to that. We have calluses for that. No, the worst kind of pain, the one that keeps you up at night staring at the ceiling, the one that makes you question why you invest so much of your soul into this team, is the pain of stagnation. It's the creeping fear that nothing is actually changing. It's that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach when you realize that the people in charge might be looking at the same disaster you watched for 18 weeks and seeing something completely different. We talk all the time about culture and accountability and turning the page, but when the rubber meets the road, when it's time to actually make the hard decisions that separate the contenders from the pretenders, what do? We pause. We hesitate. We look at the past instead of the future. It feels like we have been waiting an eternity for this offseason to truly kick into gear, doesn't it? We've been sitting here, dissecting the wreckage of last season, looking at an offensive line that, let's be honest, looked less like a professional unit and more like a turnstile at a subway station. We watched our quarterback run for his life. We watched plays blow up before they even started. And we told ourselves, okay, this is it. This is the offseason where Andrew Berry gets ruthless. This is the offseason where sentimentality goes out the window. We convinced ourselves that the front office saw what we saw, a broken engine that needed new parts, not just a fresh coat of paint. But then the news drops, and it's not a splashy signing. It's not a trade. It's a procedural move, a quiet little adjustment to a contract. And on the surface, maybe it looks harmless. Maybe it looks like good business. But if you peel back the layers, if you really look at what this signifies, it might just be the most terrifying signal we've gotten all year. Because it suggests that maybe, just maybe, the Cleveland Browns are more interested in being nice to their legends than they are in protecting their future. It suggests that loyalty is being prioritized over the brutal reality of the NFL, which is a production business. And if that is the case, if that is the mindset heading into March, then we need to have a very serious, very uncomfortable conversation about where this ship is actually heading. But before we get into the details of this Andrew Berry decision and what it means for the future of the offensive line, I need you to do something for me. Click that like button. Seriously, smash it right now. And I want you to tell me in the comments and be honest. Do you believe Joel Bitonio, at this stage in his career, is still a starting caliber guard in the NFL, or are we holding on to the memory of the player he used to be? I want to see a yes or a no in the comment section. Is he the answer, or is he part of the problem? Let me know, because I have a feeling the fanbase is split right down the middle on this one. Alright, let's dive into this. Let's talk about what actually happened, because the headline might have slipped past you if you weren't paying attention to the transaction wire. The report comes from Jason Lloyd, and here is the reality. The Cleveland Browns and GM Andrew Berry have agreed to push back the contract void date for veteran guard Joel Bitonio until the end of the league year in March. Now, let's explain what that means in plain English. Originally, there was a trigger date coming up fast, a date where the Browns had to make a decision. Cut him, extend him, or eat a massive cap hit. It was a deadline. It was a forcing function. It was the moment where the team had to look Joel Bitonio in the eye and say, are you in or are you out? Instead of making that call, instead of ripping the Band-Aid off or committing to the surgery, they moved the goalposts. They pushed the date back. Andrew Berry and Jimmy Haslam essentially gave Bitonio 3 extra weeks, 3 weeks of breathing room, to decide what he wants to do. They handed the leverage and the timeline back to the player. Now, on paper, the team is going to frame this as flexibility. That is the buzzword, right? We want to maintain flexibility entering free agency. They will tell you this avoids an immediate salary cap trigger. They will tell you it's out of respect for a guy who has been a warrior for this franchise. And let's not get it twisted. Joel Bitonio has been a warrior. Drafted in 2014, 7-time Pro Bowl selection. He has been the one constant through some of the darkest years in this franchise's history. He was here for 1 to 31. He was here for the carousel of quarterbacks. He has been the consummate professional, the guy who never threw anyone under the bus, the guy who showed up and worked when everyone else was quitting. Nobody is debating his legacy. Put him in the ring of honor tomorrow. Build the statue. I am first in line for that ceremony. But we aren't talking about 2018 Joel Bitonio. We aren't talking about the guy who was arguably the best guard in football for a 3-year stretch. We are talking about the Joel Bitonio we watched last season. And if we are going to be honest, if we are going to be insiders here and speak the truth that the team website won't publish, we have to talk about the tape. Last year was not just a down year. It was a collapse. And it wasn't just Bitonio. It was the entire unit. But Bitonio is the captain. He's the leader. And when you look at the pressure rates, when you look at the run-blocking win rates, the cliff was steep. We saw him getting overpowered by defensive tackles that he used to stonewall. We saw him laid off the snap. We saw the injuries piling up, the nagging things that don't go away when you get to be his age. The transcript and the rumors swirling around the building are framing last season's offensive line performance as a sabotage job. That is strong language, but is it wrong? Think about the quarterback situation. We have Shedeur Sanders back there. We have a rookie quarterback, the future of the franchise, the guy who is supposed to save us. What is the number one rule when you have a young, franchise quarterback? You protect him. You build a wall. You do not let him get hit. You do not let him develop seeing ghosts because he can't trust the pocket. And yet here we are looking at a move that essentially delays the reconstruction of that wall. By giving Bitonio until March, Andrew Berry is signaling that the door is still wide open for him to return as a starter. And I have to ask why? Is it because they watched the film and truly believe he can bounce back to an all-pro level? Or is it because Andrew Berry struggles to move on from his guys or the pillars of the organization? This is the loyalty versus accountability war that is raging inside Berea right now. You have the football reality, which says the offensive line needs to get younger, nastier, and cheaper. And then you have the emotional reality, which is that Jimmy Haslam loves Joel Bitonio, Andrew Berry respects Joel Bitonio, and nobody wants to be the bad guy who cuts a club legend. But here is the danger. Here is the massive risk they are taking. The NFL does not care about your feelings. The Pittsburgh Steelers do not care about Joel Bitonio's legacy. The Baltimore Ravens are not going to take it easy on him because he's a good guy. If he cannot move his feet, they are going to run right through him and put our quarterback in the dirt. That is the cold, hard truth. Let's analyze the strategic impact of this because this butterfly effect is massive. By kicking this can down the road to March, you are effectively paralyzing your ability to aggressively plan for the first wave of free agency until you know what that money looks like. If Bitonio decides to come back, what does that cost? It's not just the salary, it's the roster spot. It's the reps, it's the message it sends to the rest of the locker room. If you are preaching competition, if you are preaching that the best man plays, how do you justify trotting out a veteran who was clearly compromised last year just because of what he did 5 years ago? And look at the cap. We know the Browns are always playing cap gymnastics. Andrew Berry is a wizard with the void years and the restructuring. But every time you push money back, every time you add void years, you are borrowing from the future. You are putting a mortgage on 2026 and 2027. If Bitonio plays one more year, and it's a bad year, we are paying for that mistake for the next 3 years. Compare this to what the ruthless teams do. Look at how the Patriots operated for 20 years. Lawyer Miller? Gone. Ty Law? Gone. Richard Seymour? Traded. 1 year too early rather than 1 year too late. That is the mantra. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They trade Tyreek Hill and win a Super Bowl. They move off L'Jarius Sneed. They constantly churn the roster because they know that stagnation is death in this league. Are the Browns capable of being that ruthless? This move suggests they aren't. This move suggests they are hoping against hope that the band can stay together for one last run. But we saw the band last year. The instruments were out of tune. The rhythm was off. The music stopped. And let's talk about the coaching staff's perspective. You have Ken Dorsey. You have Kevin Stefanski. They are trying to install an offense that works for Shedeur. That offense requires mobility. It requires linemen who can get to the second level, who can pull, who can operate in space. Does current-day Joel Bitonio fit that scheme? Or are we forcing a square peg into a round hole because of his name? If we bring him back, and he struggles in Week 1, what happens? Do you bench a Hall of Fame candidate in Week 2? No, you don't. You ride it out. You let him play through it. And that is how you lose games. That is how you get your quarterback hurt. That is how you sabotage a season before it even begins. There is a scenario, a best-case scenario, where Bitonio takes these 3 weeks, gets healthy, realizes he has 1 great year left, comes back rejuvenated, and mentors the young guys. Maybe he moves to center? Maybe he takes a pay cut? Sure, we can dream about that. But as analysts, we have to look at the probabilities. The probability of an offensive lineman in his 30s suddenly reversing a physical decline is low. Extremely low. The worst-case scenario? He comes back, eats up $10 to $12 million in cap space that could have gone to a premier free agent guard or tackle, plays 8 games, gets hurt or plays poorly, and we are right back where we started. Except Shedeur Sanders has taken 20 more hits than he needed to. And that's the reality, isn't it? That's what we are facing. We are facing a front office that might be too close to the situation to see it clearly. Andrew Berry is a smart man. He is a calculated man. But every GM has a blind spot. For some, it's draft picks. For others, it's free agency spending. For Berry, it feels like his blind spot is the inability to close the book on the era that he started. He wants to win with these guys. He wants Bitonio and Garrett and Ward to be the ones hoisting the trophy. But sometimes to win the war, you have to change the soldiers. This 3-week delay? It's a microcosm of entire franchise's struggle. It's hesitation disguised as flexibility. It's fear disguised as loyalty. And my genuine fear for this team is that we are going to wake up in March, Bitonio is going to be back on the roster, and we are going to talk ourselves into it. We are going to say, oh, he's a veteran leader, we need him. And then September rolls around, and we see the same slow feet, the same missed blocks, and the same pressure in our quarterback's face. We cannot afford to waste a single year of Shedeur Sanders' rookie contract. This is the window. The window is right now. You don't win Super Bowls by being sentimental. You win them by being savage. You win them by looking at the roster and cutting out the dead weight, no matter how much you love the person attached to it. So, here is the bottom line. Andrew Berry has kicked the can. He has bought 3 weeks. But the clock is ticking louder than ever. In 3 weeks, we will know if this team is serious about winning a championship or if they're just running a retirement home for Browns legends. The choice is yours, AB. Loyalty or accountability. You can't have both. Not anymore. The stakes cannot be higher. The offensive line is the heartbeat of this team. If it fails, the season fails. If it fails, Shedeur fails. It is that simple. We are watching a franchise-defining moment play out in slow motion over the next 21 days. I want to know what you think. Is this the right move? Is this class or is this cowardice? Sound off below. I read every single comment. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like button, and click the video on your screen right now to see our breakdown of the top free agent replacements if Bitonio does retire. Go Browns!